Attention, you're listening to The Todd Huff Show, America's home for conservative, not bitter talk and education. Be advised, the content of this program has been documented to prevent and even cure liberalism, and listening may cause you to lean to the right. And now, coming to you from the Full Suite Wealth Studios, here's your conservative but not bitter host, Todd Huff.
Well, congratulations to the state of Tennessee for doing what Indiana Republicans did not have the courage to do. And I don't know if Republicans here were afraid of some of the things that people would say. I don't know if they were just wimpy. I don't know if they were just naive to the reality of what we're actually facing, what time it actually is. As Lieutenant Governor Micah Beckwith said, Republicans who don't realize that it's time to redistrict don't understand what time it is in American politics. I don't know what it all was to factor into that. The decision to not redistrict here in my state, but Tennessee Republicans have done just that. I want to talk about that. I want to play a speech. I want to tell you some of the antics and the shenanigans that you see happening from these radical leftists. They are unhinged. They are insane. It's remarkable to witness, really. And I want to talk a bit about that as well. In fact, they had to use law enforcement. I don't know if anyone got arrested, but they had to use law enforcement to remove them, some folks, from the floor because of the behavior. It's chaos. And honestly, if you want to know at the core what is wrong with the Democrat Party when it's run by the radical left, as it is more and more prevalently today, it is that they embrace absolute chaos. Dare I say godlessness, chaos, tumult, turmoil, insanity is what ensues. I also have a clip of AOC. I don't know if I'll have time to get to that or not, but I would like to get to that as well. We don't do scripting here or themes, but it dovetails nicely into what I was just talking about. That's the direction we're headed today, my friends. If you got thoughts, questions, and feedback or anything along those lines, I welcome you to text me at 317-785-1030, or you can email Todd at toddhuffshow.com. You know, one of the biggest challenges that conservatives have is finding a way to ensure your values align with the way that you live your life. For example, you wouldn't want to work at a woke company if you can avoid it. You wouldn't want to support a business that helps get radical leftists elected, like we're going to talk about here today. And that would also include you don't want to invest in businesses that go completely against your values. That's why I love what the team at 4-8 Financial is doing. They specialize in biblically responsible investing. That means they screen out companies that do not align with your faith and your values so that you're not funding things that are the complete opposite of what you believe in. They do all the heavy lifting. They help analyze the companies, they analyze the mutual funds and everything else to give you a tool that all you have to do is answer a couple of questions. So you can complete that tool, that assessment, answer a couple of questions. It's quick, it's easy. 48financial.com/Todd. Again, that's 48financial.com/Todd. 48 Financial, because your money should work for your values, and friends, certainly not against it. All right, so let's get to what I want to start with here today, which is, this is at Red State. Hold on, that's not the one I want. This is at the Epoch Times. Headline here, Tennessee Governor Bill Lee signs redistricting bill to carve up state's lone blue district. Hear me say this. This is necessary. This may be to some uncomfortable. This may be to some, not worth it, which is wild to me. I went through yesterday with the battle that is really being waged here in this country, that's raging across this country. I talked about what's at stake, and it's not just simple. It is not. We have ventured out of politics. We have ventured into the development of a worldview. We have ventured into deciding whether or not this nation will be fundamentally the same as it was set out to be created in the Constitution, or whether it will be something altogether different that's envisioned by these radical, godless, extreme, unhinged, radical leftists. That is what is at stake here. These folks never sleep. Government is God. There is nothing in their minds that government cannot do or should not do, except for maybe defend our border or to engage with enemies who are trying to destroy the United States of America. They are clinically insane. They are. These are the ones, again, who tell us that boys can be girls, that girls can be boys. These are the same ones who have stand at the podiums and celebrate abortion. These are the same ones who cheer for Zohran Mamdani in New York City. By the way, you might have seen that New York City, they've passed this law, this second tax, on second homes and so forth. It's targeting really the ultra wealthy, and some billionaires have actually some have started fleeing the state. Millionaires, billionaires, wealthy folks. Some have started investing in other cities around the country in real estate instead of New York. And the response from Zohran Mamdani is kind of a shoulder shrug. Meh. We got to fix this system. We've got to fix the system, he says. And by fix the system, he means make something that is less like what this nation was founded to be. They are in some cases downright communist. This is not hyperbole. This is literally who some of these folks are. I'm talking about the godless, extremist, radical leftists who absolutely love anything that is different from what this nation was founded to be. The bigger the government, the happier they are, because it actually empowers them. It actually enriches them. It actually gives them the power. It's a power that is against the way that the universe was created to work, that life here on earth was created to work. It ignores our God-given rights. Instead, it is predicated on the belief that rights come from a group of people, which, of course, does not make them rights at all. It's complete absurdity. It is sophistry. It is silliness. But this has been embraced by one political party today. And then on the other side, there are people who understand the risk. There are people who have been sounding the warning alarms. There are people who have been standing up to and speaking out against the lunacy. And yet there are others who still call the Republican Party home, who are willing to ignore the risk, who are willing to pretend that there is some sort of compromise that can be made with people who want to fundamentally and radically remake this country, allowing them to have political power when they do not need to be. By this, I mean a congressional district that allows a majority of these folks the ability to elect lunacy, to go to Washington, D.C., and enact laws that literally leads to the deaths of Americans, whether it's through abortions and abortion law. That's now primarily happening through the states, but you understand my larger point. But it definitely allows for the behaviors, certain behaviors that are deadly and detrimental to our young people. These are people who have ideas that, again, resemble the Soviet Union more than they resemble the viewpoints and beliefs of the founding fathers. They are dangerous. I'm telling you, they're absolutely dangerous. They're dangerous for children. They're dangerous for truth. They're dangerous for freedom-loving Americans. They're dangerous for liberty. They're dangerous for border security. Think about the people that have died because we refused to secure our border. It's sad to say. I hate to bring it up, but it's the truth, and we have to accept the truth, stare the truth in the eye, and realize where we have fallen short of taking the steps necessary to properly deal with these things. And if you go to the root of the problem, it is the radical left. They're the ones who are creating havoc and turmoil. They're the ones who are cheering for the death of Trump. Did you see, by the way, Mark Hamill? Good old Mark Hamill. I just mentioned this briefly. We'll get back to the main thread here. But since I mentioned a little bit about who these people are, Fox News headline says this: Mark Hamill, you will know Mark Hamill. Maybe you don't remember the name, but he's a just off his rocker leftist, extremist lunatic. But this was Luke Skywalker, the original Luke Skywalker in the old, original Star Wars movies. Star Wars New Hope, I guess. Was that the first one? The Empire Strikes Back, The Return of the Jedi. Luke Skywalker from those movies back in the late 70s and 1980s. That Mark Hamill, he's the one who played Luke Skywalker, deletes image depicting Trump as deceased, posts new photo to, quote, apologize for after backlash. Let me just read a bit of this. Star Wars actor Mark Hamill deleted a photo depicting President Donald Trump as deceased and posted a new image to, quote, apologize on Thursday. Hamill faced backlash for posting on Blue Sky. That's by the way, the radical left's new home for Twitter. It's the equivalent, I guess, of X now. The same sort of social media platform, but it's the home. You want to find crazy? Go on over to Blue Sky. These people feeding off of each other, living inside of an echo chamber. It is wild, wild stuff. But anyway, he faced backlash on yesterday, for posting on Blue Sky what appeared to be Trump lying over a grave just days after an assassination attempt at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, with the caption, "If only." So he posts a picture of Trump. I'm going to pull it up here so you can see it. Well, you can't see it, so I can see it, so I can explain it. But it has Trump like he's lying. Imagine when you see someone being placed in their casket after they're dead and gone, how they are laid on their back, their eyes are closed, their hands are folded on top of their abdomen. He's in a suit and tie. He's right. This is a graphic that's been created. His head is against a headstone that says Donald J. Trump, 1946 to 2024. So apparently he was hoping he would have been dead for a couple of years now. And then there's daisies being pushed up around him. You know the old saying, pushing up daisies when someone passes away. And so it's got that image. And at the bottom of the image, still in the image, it says in white letters, "If only." If only. Then in the caption of his stupid, evil, twisted, demented post here on social media, Blue Sky, he writes this: "If only he should live long enough to witness the inevitable devastating loss in the midterms, be held accountable for his unprecedented corruption, impeached, convicted, and humiliated for his countless crimes, long enough to realize he'll be disgraced in the history books forevermore." listen, I don't understand. The left is really bad at this. It says if only, and then it has him. He has the date on the headstone being 2 years ago, but then Hamill wants him to live longer, live not just into 2026, but almost, well, it would have to be through the end of 26, because you would have to have the new Democrats elected in Hamill's world, where they win control of the House and the Senate, and they impeach Trump in the new Congress, which would be in 2027, so that Trump would be impeached. This is what it says here. Convicted, so it would have to be impeached in the House, convicted in the Senate, humiliated for his, as he puts it, countless crimes, and long enough to realize he'll be disgraced in the history books. So I don't know how that computes with dying before all this stuff happens. Don't ask me to make sense of these deranged radical leftists. Here's what I can tell you, though. Here's what I can tell you. And let's step outside of politics for just a moment. This is not healthy at all. Friends, I want to defeat our political opponents. I want conservatives, I want Republicans to win, and I want conservatives, constitutionalists, limited government folks to take control of the Republican Party and have a real governing majority. I want the president to be a conservative. I want the House of Representatives to be Republican-led, and then the Republican leadership be conservative. I want the same in the U.S. Senate. I want Supreme Court justices appointed when vacancies arrives that are originalists who interpret the Constitution as written and who are not activist judges, but who are willing to interpret and apply the Constitution and statutes appropriately as intended by the people who framed the Constitution and so forth. I want them to be able to make rulings based on those things. That's what I want. I want state governments to then be laboratories, again, for this republic. I want to see regulation cut, taxes cut, entitlement programs cut. I want to see debt spending eliminated. I want to see the debt reduced. I want to see free market capitalism unleashed. I want to see free speech supported at all costs. I want to see the Second Amendment supported at all costs. I want to see liberty supported at all costs. I want to see the Fourth Amendment be taken seriously. Again, I don't want to live in a police state. I want to see the 10th Amendment lived out again, which says anything, I'm paraphrasing here, but anything not in the Constitution that's not been given to the federal government by the consent of the governed, the consent of the people of America. Anything that's not been specifically delegated to the federal government is reserved for the people, the individual people, to manage on their own, or the states, and the states. That's what I want to see, a nation that moves back to that. I want to see a nation that moves back toward truth, towards understanding that people who are boys who think that they're girls need help, not a pass to mutilate their bodies, take drugs, and to permanently change themselves. I want to see an end to abortion. I want to see, again, low taxes, a strong military, speak softly and carry a big stick, as Teddy Roosevelt said, peace through strength, as Reagan said. I want to see secure borders. I want to see the ideas that made this country great exported around the world. I want to see people, of course, wanting to come here because this place is the best place on earth, but I also want to see other countries accept the premise, the foundation, the framework that we established in this country so that they could benefit from the blessings of liberty, the blessings of free market. I want to see corrupt governments around the world and politicians be removed from office. I want to see people who have broken the law, regardless of who they are, pay the price for doing that. I do not want to see political violence. I will not share it. You will not ever see me post a picture of a Democrat with a headstone where it appears to be, the message is clear that I'm hoping for that person to be dead. And you definitely won't see me writing words that celebrate or that wish for, that hope for someone else to feel the pain. I think that this is a complete misunderstanding of justice. I do. Now, if he thinks Trump is guilty, I have no problem with him wishing for Trump to be held accountable. Of course, it's living in fantasy world, but there's nothing wrong with wanting accountability. There's nothing wrong for wanting justice to be served. But see, that's not enough for these folks. They want him personally to suffer. See, I just want the problem to stop. Right? I want to see Mom Donnie lose. Of course, I'm not in New York City, so he's not my mayor. I can watch this train wreck from a distance, but I just want to see people like Mom Donnie lose elections. I don't need him to suffer. I don't need him to personally feel pain. I just need him to be stopped. I just want him to be stopped politically. I want the people who empower these folks to understand what they've created and to do a 180 and walk in the opposite direction, seeking liberty, the Constitution, and free markets over promises from lovers of big government. That's what I want. I just want him stopped. I want the infrastructure defeated. I want the education system that pumps this garbage into the minds of young people to be stopped. But I don't revel in how other people feel when they fail, even when they're doing evil. I just want them to stop. I want to see us gain ground. I want to see us head in the right direction. I don't need him to suffer. I don't need anybody to suffer. It does nothing for me. Friends, there's a lot of confusion out there about Kratom. You've probably heard the headlines, and most of them are based on synthetic junk that isn't real Kratom at all. Real Kratom is natural. It is tested. It is handled with care. It is not a synthetic. And my friends, you'll find that sort of garbage, synthetic garbage out there, but that is not what you get from Christopher's Organic Botanicals. You will find natural. You will find tested. You will find something handled with care. They partner directly with farmers in Indonesia. Every batch is lab tested. And there are no chemicals, no fillers, or anything like that. So, Christopher'sOrganicBotanicals.com, Christopher'sOrganicBotanicals.com. Use code Todd Huff for 10% off. Truth, tradition, transparency, my friends. Time out for me. Back in just a minute. Welcome back, my friends. I know we kind of split our train of thought there a little bit to talk about Mark Hamill, but we're talking about what we're up against with the radical left, and I've been happy to report to you that Tennessee did what my state of Indiana did not have the courage to do, or the foresight to do, or the understanding to do. Whatever words you want to insert in there, they're either too wimpy to do the work because they don't like the opposition. And I'm going to read to you some of the opposition that they faced in Tennessee, some of the craziness that happened in Tennessee, the shenanigans and so forth. And they just dealt with it like men, like people who had conviction, that people who were not going to be deterred because of something the opposition was saying. It is remarkable to me how wimpy people can be, especially people who are in political office. This is a time that requires real leadership. This is the time. Real leadership must be. Well, we need real leadership right now. We need people who are willing to do what is necessary and let the chips fall where they may. So going back to this article at the Epoch Times, it says this: Tennessee Governor Bill Lee signed a new U.S. congressional map into law May 7th. That was yesterday. The legislation will redistrict and break up the state's only current Democratic district ahead of the midterms. Lee signed the legislation hours after it passed, and passed the State House, 64-25, with 3 people voting present, and the State Senate 25-5. So First of all, let's pause and congratulate the Republicans here for doing what was necessary in the state of Tennessee. Also note that they've followed their rules here. They did not need to amend the Constitution, involve a blue ribbon panel. They didn't need to go to referendum. They used the power that they have given to them, delegated to them by the U.S. Constitution, assigned to them by the U.S. Constitution, to where they can draw their districts. And they exercised that right, that power yesterday. Notice that this was over quickly. I mean, there were mentions of this. We knew that these sorts of things could happen. They didn't have some drawn-out fight. They didn't have, in the state of Tennessee, as we have here in our Senate, poor Senate leadership. Unfortunately, poor leadership from my state senator, Rod Bray, who never, they did return a message to me. They acted like, I should read it on here, but they acted like I sent emails to the wrong inbox. And it was weeks. It was actually on Christmas Eve, but it was weeks after the fight. I had been trying to contact them back to November. I just wanted to talk with Rod. I know Rod slightly, not close or anything like that, but we've encountered each other before, chatted in public and so forth. Nice guy, doesn't know what time it is in America, doesn't seem to care what the stakes are. In fact, according to reports, had been calling other states to say, if we don't redistrict, calling a blue state and saying, listen, we won't redistrict if you don't redistrict. I don't understand the fear. And see, I still don't understand the fear because they don't talk about it. They hide. This is not leadership. This is manipulation behind the scenes. This is making some shady deals. He's completely and utterly unfit to be leadership in the state Senate and completely and utterly unfit to be a sitting state senator. And he had better take notice because 5 of his colleagues were just primaried here in the state of Indiana. 5 of the 7 that were targeted by Trump lost. These were senators who voted against redistricting. State senators that voted against redistricting. They just were primaried in Indiana. Don't tell me there's not some momentum here for this movement. You've got states that are taking the power that they have by the Constitution and acting immediately like Tennessee, like Florida. They're not violating their laws like it appears Virginia did to change its districts. By the way, doing what's actually gerrymandering in their proposed maps. And you're going to see other states, other red states follow. From the South in particular, there may be others. But this is what leadership looks like. They did it quickly. They did it decisively. I go back to the article here. The proposal splits the Democratic stronghold of Memphis into 3 U.S. congressional seats, up from 1 currently held by Representative Steve Cohen. So Tennessee has 9 districts, just like Indiana does. I actually think there's similarities between Tennessee and Indiana. I do believe Tennessee is more conservative, but both are strong Republican places. They had an 8-1 split. We had a 9-2 split. Of course, we've got suburbs from Chicago. That's one of our districts that are conservative, and we've got the biggest city of Indianapolis. That's a blue district. But they've got Nashville and they've got Memphis. But the way that they've drawn their maps, Nashville's red currently, and Memphis was the only blue state. Now, it should be noted here. It should be noted that a lot of hay has been made over what they're doing here, and of course, they're being accused of being racist because they're taking away. Memphis, of course, is a black, as the old district was a black majority district, and so the only reason you would want to take away that district, according to the race baiters out there, is because you don't want black people to have a vote and a voice in Congress. That's simply not the case at all. In fact, would you be surprised if I told you that Steve Cohen, I just read his name in this article, that Steve Cohen is white? Steve Cohen is white. But they still make this about race. It is wild. Going back to the article, all of Tennessee's 9 congressional district will now likely lean Republican. So the only Democratic voice representing the volunteer state could be voted out in the midterms. By the way, I hope so. I absolutely hope so. Cohen, who currently represents District 9, covering parts of Shelby County, including the city of Memphis and Tipton County, called redistricting efforts a blatant power grab that would destroy the black communities and the entire city's voice. He wrote in a May 6th post on X. No, it won't. No, it will not. Every single person in that city can still vote. By the way, as I've shared on here before, when you try to split existing Republicans so that they have a chance of winning in more districts, in more congressional districts, you actually dilute the vote. So in theory, you actually have a chance to probably be competitive in more of these districts. Now, if you put candidates on the ballot who are anti-American, who blame Trump and put America last and believe in taxing the rich and eating the rich, if you believe in, big government policies, giving people access to entitlements that cost the taxpayer money and things like that, and want to tell people in the volunteer state that boys can be girls and girls can be boys, and if you say anything about it, you're bigoted and want to see the mental health of the trans community unravel and so forth. If that's what you believe, if that's what your candidates are out there saying, then that's your fault. That's not our fault. State Democrats, it says here, said the attempt to redistrict the state was racist. Again, by getting rid of a white guy's seat, it's racist, apparently, and illegal after Lee, a Republican, had ordered the Tennessee General Assembly to review the state's congressional map on May 1st. The order followed a landmark Supreme Court decision about the Voting Rights Act in April. We've talked about that. You get the idea. And there's a map here of what the new district will look like, or the new districts, I should say. So they're flipping out. They're calling him racist. There was turmoil on the House floor. Just chaos. It's what these folks on the left want. It's who they are. And we have to stop judging our success or our ideas based upon how they respond. They are throwing temper tantrums, and we can't say we refuse to do what we need to do because they might throw a big tantrum. I couldn't care less about their shenanigans. I find it interesting so long as it's not violent and hurting people. That's not interesting to me. That's unlawful, and that needs to be stopped. But anyway, speaking of stopping, I need to do that because I just looked at the clock here. Friends, you've worked hard, you've made smart choices, and now it's about making sure the effort counts, not just for today, but for the future. Full Suite Wealth helps forward-thinking people with a coordinated approach to wealth, legacy, and legal planning, including private equity, private credit, and options strategies. They'll help you see the big picture, plan ahead, and make your success truly matter for the people you care about the most. The goal is a plan that stands the test of time. So, if you're interested, head on over to FullSuiteWealth.com now. That's FullSuiteWealth.com. Build your legacy. Secure your future, my friends. Quick time out. Back in a minute. Welcome back, my friends. I'd wanted to play a soundbite from one of the representatives here. Well, not here, but in Tennessee. I think we've played clips from him before. His name is Justin Pearson. He got into a confrontation with state troopers from Tennessee during the special session. In fact, I'll go ahead here. While I say this, bear with me. Let me refresh that. I'll play the clip of him just to give you a flavor of what was happening on the House floor in Tennessee yesterday. You can kind of piece this together in your mind's eye. But here he is getting, he wasn't arrested, but he was being dealt with by police because he was being disorderly. So, and why isn't this? Stand by. Here we go. I think it'll go now. Here we go. Listen to this, just to give you an idea and a flavor.
I'll walk him out. Y'all going? Let go of him. Let go of him, sir. Now you got me all tied up.
You got me all tied up. He's got in an officer's face. What the F is wrong with you, he said. What the F is wrong with you, he says. Yeah, you stupid mother blank. That's what he just said. You can't see the video, and maybe that was... I want you to hear the chaos. So you had law enforcement escorting one of his colleagues out. He's trying to get... Actually, they might be arresting that guy, or at least detaining him. No. They're just ushering them out. There's cameras. This is all performative art, by the way. All performative art. Literally got, I'm talking 2 inches, maybe not even that, from the nose of the state trooper here. Said, boy, you are effing stupid. Called him an MFer. The cop clearly is not trying to escalate the situation. They're trying to restore order, which again, yeah, I'm watching the clip again here. He gets probably 3 or 4 inches from his nose and yelling at him, screaming at him. Is this what democracy looks like, I guess, my friends? This is wild stuff. Wild stuff. And I said in the last segment, listen, I understand that they're emotional about this. I think that they absolutely know that this is a legitimate action for Republicans to take. There's nothing illegal. Ever notice? I mean, we literally just watched this in Virginia. Did you see Republicans acting like this? I mean, they might have used strong language. I didn't see this. I didn't think law enforcement had to be called in. I didn't see any videos of Republicans getting in the faces of law enforcement, calling them stupid you-know-whats. I didn't see any of that. It only seems to work that way when Republicans redistrict. I'm remarkably consistent on this. Democrats have the right to redistrict in their state as long as they're not in violation of their constitution or the laws that their state has enacted pertaining to the way and manner in which they can draw new districts in their states. But they have the power delegated to them. And just like they did in, well, I don't want to say just like Virginia, because Virginia, I mean, I shared with you, there's at least 3 or 4 problems with the way Virginia did their redistricting. And so now it's in court, Supreme Court of Virginia, and there's a good chance that it's going to get struck down. But that's not going to happen in Tennessee. That's not going to happen in Florida. It would not have happened in my state of Indiana if our leadership had the courage. See, they don't want this right here, what I played for you. But it's crazy to me that you would allow, think about this. If you are so controlled by the petulant temper tantrums being thrown by the left, if you are so intimidated by that, then what you're basically allowing for, what you're basically creating, what you're basically allowing to rule your state are people, is the emotional intelligence or the behavior, the civility of the other side. And you actually empower them by not doing what needs to be done politically, or what I think needs to be done politically, which is pass these maps. You got to say, I don't care. I don't care how you respond. If you want to scream at me, if you want to blast me on social media, have right at it. Go for it. But this is what we're going to do. And if you want to know why, just watch how your side responds. You are engaging in pure political theater. I understand Democrats can do this in Democrat states, again, so long as they don't violate their own constitution or laws on the books, which they tend to have a way of doing. But if you can pass it in accordance with your laws or whatever, then that's your prerogative. I don't particularly like it, but you're not going to see me acting like a petulant fool and throwing a temper tantrum. And if I did, the adult in me would realize that the other side shouldn't listen, and we shouldn't listen to this stuff either. It's just so amazing to me, the lack of intestinal fortitude of some people who are in positions of leadership. Anyway, folks, I've got to go. Have a great weekend. We'll talk again Monday. SDG.